And welcome once again to another edition of the Truth Hour. My name is Johnny Guzman. As always, a pleasure to be here sharing truth with you. Well, tonight we have a very special program for you, Secrets of Hidden Energies. Tonight, as always, every Monday, we're joined by Kate and Tony. Kate from Canada, Tony from the UK. They will be here in just a few seconds so they can share their wisdom on this very interesting topic, Secrets of Hidden Energies. But before we start, I'd like to remind you to make sure to check into our webpage, qltelevision.com. There you can see all the stuff that's going on. Also, you can go to our fan page, QL Television, in Facebook. And, of course, for all of our previous programs in English and in Spanish, you can go into our YouTube channel, QL Television. Okay, so let's say hello to Tony first. How are you, Tony?
Not too bad, Johnny. How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. Lots of stuff going on this Monday. I'm sure you know, the Pope resigns. We're in the middle of Carnival down here in South America, and well, I think all over the world. And tonight's topic, Secret of Hidden Energies. Before we get into that, Tony, just like to say hello to Kate. Kate, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
There you are, Kate. Again, we're a lot of things going on. Today, Monday, we're going to get right into that the meat of the secrets of the hidden energies. But before we start, Kate, what's your take on the Pope resigning today, Kate?
Woo-hoo. That's it's a bit of a curveball. I was reading also that some of the insiders actually were a bit shocked at what was going on as well.
Okay, Kate.
I was just waiting for some feedback there. Just got a bit of noise in the back.
Okay. No, you're good. You're good. So you were saying, with this situation with the Pope with Ratzinger, well, officially he's going to step down on the 28th, I believe, of this month. But all these things that we've been talking about now for quite some time, that everything is going to be known, right? Especially in this age of Aquarius, that things are just going to collapse, and this new information is going to come out and about, and of course, all the evilness is just going to do away. But there's just so much things going on right now that I'm reading, and people are speculating and saying that, the new Pope is coming in, and this is, the downfall of the church. And but what else can you share with us, Kate, regarding this situation with the Pope with Ratzinger?
Well, I was looking back at a few pieces of history there with regards to St. Malachi, who had prophesied 112 popes, with Benny the Rat being 111, which I thought was rather interesting, 111. In binary, that's off, right? So, also the lineups with Nostradamus and the fall of Rome. I mean, I can get into a lot of different angles on this, but the bottom line is things are changing. Yes, we're in the age of Aquarius, and we've got Pluto. We have a lot of destruction of the old orders coming into play. And I see people like the Pope, which is this is the first one in 600 years to resign position, talking about health reasons. I'd say he's just skipping town. Again, I mean, the news came out this morning that I got it anyway, and really haven't had a whole lot of time to look at other causals that are in there. But I mean, with the level of corruption that's been involved with the Catholic Church since its inception, in terms of pedophilia, priest rapists and all the rest of it. Never mind the fact that they've been selling a load of garbage since day one as well, keeping people in fear, trying to convince them that there's some guy in the sky with a beard and requires a penis. And apparently someone is going to be coming in on a horse. Pegasus is actually the constellation they're referring to. Going to come in on a horse and save them, But other than that, I mean, it's still unfolding. And we can theorize a few things on it, but there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe right now, and there's going to be a lot of people going to be skipping town, so to speak. So I'm really curious to see where this is going to go. And I guess as the prophecies that they were talking about are stating, it's going to be Peter the Roman, Petrus Romanus, and he's the last one to come in before the actual seven hills of Rome collapse, which is for me indication of the entire world system coming down.
Tony, what's your take on this situation with the Pope, Tony? Now, with the Pope, you got. I'm not seeing you on the screen, Tony.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
What's the situation with the Pope? Well, I mean, it is basically the final, third and final fall of Rome, isn't it? That's a situation that's always been prophesied, and it's always been prophesied for very good reasons that we can get to in a bit of a later show. But they're playing to the rule book. In other words, all of these popes have gone through and done their duties and actually, filled out their roles in office and all the rest of it, putting it politely, that is. And it's come down to the last one, as prophesied, that this was going to be the sort of like the next but final pope or whatever. And, it's playing out as per the rule book. It's an interesting perspective to look at it from this side, and it's not the same sort of side that most people are looking at it from. But that takes a lot more explaining to get that point of view, I suppose is the correct or accurate term. But it's coming down.
There's been scandal after scandal with the Vatican, right? Just recently, WikiLeaks they exposed, the butler or somebody within the close to the Pope shared all this information that they were laundering money with the mafia and the bank, the Vatican bank was involved in all these cases of pedophilia that Kate mentioned. You think that something heavy is coming down on Ratzinger, that he's sort of jumping ship before he can make more excuses of why these things are going on, Tony?
Well, the question jumps out and bites me on the nose. Well, how heavy do you want it? This is the unfoldment of the history of the human race happening day by day, and it's in some ways to a lot of people it's frightening. In others, it's prophesy, and in others, it's Well, I mean, it means lots of different things to lots of different people. It depends on the perspective that you're looking at it from. But it's certainly one of the biggest moments in human history right now is unfolding right in front of our eyes. That's no question at all. It's just a case of perception. But
right, Kate. Kate,
yes.
It just coincides that right now we're celebrating Carnival, right? Carnaval in Spanish, and as most people are pretty familiar with this, the big feast down in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, Mardi Gras, it's called in the States. Down here in all of Central and South America, it's been a holiday weekend from Friday until Tuesday, which is where Carnival ends, right? But if just right. coincides that this guy decides to quit at this time, right? And that sort of raised a little interest in me because if during this time I tend to just lock myself in at home because it's really crazy. I don't know if you've been to any carnivals or Mardi Gras in the States, but people are just pretty much drunk. Sex all over the place, sex with anything that just appears their way. It's just a really crazy atmosphere, right? And when I was looking at this situation, Kate, is like the word carnaval, right? In Spanish, it's pronounced carnaval, carne, which means meat, for Baal, right? Carne para Baal. And as we know, Baal, a demon or an entity, a bad entity that we know of, and you see this sort of what follows Carnival is this this sacrifice according to the Catholic Church, right, where you can't eat meat, so you sacrifice something for who, for what, and then all of a sudden now I think they've narrowed it down just to Fridays, right? Or Good Fridays you can't eat meat, but then also within this structure here of this Carnival you're sacrificing by not eating meat. Then you have Ash Wednesday, right? And in Ash Wednesday, most people don't even think about this. You're getting ashes from something that's dead. First of all, I don't even know where those ashes come from. So I would say begin to question that. Where's those ashes coming from? But at least we know that ashes come from something that's dead, right? Or burnt. And then they block your third eye right here. They make a cross right on your third eye, almost like a symbolism that, you're going to continue to be blind and you're not going to use that, pineal gland, and they block you. So all these things are just going through my head now, and I'm like, geez, this is crazy. So what is your take on Carnival, Kate?
I've been to a couple of them down in Cozumel, and they're pretty wild. And you're right, people. Again, it's just another excuse to go mental. And I was chatting with you earlier and mentioned. You look at a lot of the rituals that are going on, and you've got something like, you have, what do they call it, the quarter cross, which is the midpoint of winter, which happens on February 1st, 1st to 4th kind of range there. And every one of these celebrations, you've got to keep in mind that these rituals were done beforehand. It was the Catholic Church, Christian. I prefer to call it Catholicism because that's really where all this indoctrination came from, where they took over all of the different pagan rituals, which are actually celebrations of the zodiac, the real hidden science. And you've had many discussions with Santo, and you know what I'm talking about, so do the listeners. When you're talking about Ash, this is another problem with the literal translations of the Bible, in that people do the things that are being described literally instead of taking it from the mystical, literary perspective of actually understanding the symbology, the metaphors, and the allegories that are contained within it. So what we're dealing with here, more than anything else, is sacrifice, and again, the burnt offerings. I'm not exactly sure what God requires burnt offerings or sacrifice of the living, which is absolutely counter to life and creation itself. So again, it is the bastardization of so many of these rituals that have people literally hypnotized into things like Mardi Gras and Carnival, and any reason to go out and get hammered. Look at New Year's Eve. Look at Christmas Eve. All these different holidays that for some reason or another people need to go out and get hammered. Again, poisoning themselves and feeling not a whole lot smarter the next morning, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes. And speaking about energies, Tony, let's get into the topic of tonight's discussion: secrets of hidden energies. Tony,
yep. Okay, John.
Energies. What are these secrets that we're talking about here? I mean, we know what energy is, right? Yep. We know that energy is used to manifest something, right? Because we have a thought, we tap into that consciousness or that unified field, as the Maharishis call it, and we use some type of energy to bring that information back to our reality or into our state that we're living in currently. But what hidden energies are we talking about here, Tony?
Okay, well, those particular energies are, tapping into source, tapping into creation, meditation, these sorts of things to bring energies into the third eye, again, which you've just crossed, etc., or talked about. But the energies particularly that I wanted to talk tonight about is basically the secrets that have been hidden from us, which is why we've got this whole, and we go back to the word construct again, because it is a construct. And one of the first forms of energy that I'd like to sort of like bring people's attention to, and this is always a big one, is basically the pyramids, or the pyramidal energies and how they actually formed. In other words, when we say a pyramid, we're talking about if we look at the two words, the pyramid, the fire, and the middle, the center. So those are breaking the words down where everybody goes, oh, yeah, okay, I understand that now, and yet that's what we're talking about. It's about the pyramid, or the sacred geometry shape, and how it functions and why it can absorb energy, or why it absorbs energy, and how that energy was basically converted into electricity, to give the Egyptians, for this particular example, energy from zero point, if you like, which appears to be not there, but it actually is there, and we can detail that a bit at a time. But I hope that opens up the question for you.
But we were you were mentioning something before we came on the air, or I think it was Kate, vortexes, right? What are we talking about? These vortex of energy? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. What's the best place to start? Okay, if people look around, they know about whirlpools. In other words, where you've got currents of a waterfall going into a flat bed of water, and it generates eddy currents or whirlpools, which are generally spiral. Let's call them mini tornadoes in the water, if you like, as a want of another description. So that's one example of a vortices or a vortex. Another one would be a whirlwind or a hurricane, or look at a storm front. These are all examples. Well, again, as above, so below. If we look, for example, at the typical understanding of a spiral galaxy, there again we see the same pattern. There's toroidal fields in operation there. And what happens, if you can imagine taking a flat two-dimensional toroid and pulling it out into 3 dimensions, you'll get a spring. Whereas at the center you've got the smallest coil, and at the outside you've got the largest coil. So what you end up with is a coiled vortices of energy. And that's principally what we're trying to describe when we talk about the toroidal fields. If that answers that in a picturesque way.
Yes, Kate. Can we say, Kate, that a torsion field, because this is sometimes talked about in some of the mystery schools, right? Kate, are you there?
Yes.
Kate.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Answered you 3 times now. I'm here.
So I was saying that a torsion field, right? In a lot of the ancient mystery schools, they would teach how to create this torsion field within the body, right? Whether it was in the mind, physically imagining, I shouldn't say physically, I mean imagining that there's this torsion field going around you, and eventually it will help you levitate, it will help you get into another state of consciousness, right? So what can you tell us about, is a torsion field what we're talking about here with these hidden energies?
The first thing I want to bring to the table on that one is it's not about imagining these things. These are real. What we've been duped into is thinking that we have to imagine them, and we've lost sight of them. These are vortices of creation. I talked about Dave LaPointe stuff, I think, last week a little bit. Definitely videos worth, one video that's out right now. I'm waiting for the next one with bated breath. What was the name of it again, Tony?
Primer fields.
Yeah, the primer fields. Where what Dave LaPointe has done is was able to show how the magnetic fields create this torsion effect. Because we're dealing with toroids. Now, this gets into some pretty heavy stuff as far as trying to visualize it. There's lots of good videos out there, torsion fields, rodent coils, and what have you, that will actually do a hell of a lot better job of explaining it than I could ever do. But the simple truth of this is it's real, and just because you cannot see it doesn't mean it's not there. The reason why we cannot see it is because we've been duped into not thinking we can. That's the problem with this physical realm that we live in, is that there's so much illusion here. You get to a point, at least I know myself and Tony and others have got to a point where you look around and you don't know what is real and what isn't at most days. And a lot of questioning that goes on. I don't know about you, Tony, but it certainly does with me. Again, it's not imagining. Once you can start to revisualize these concepts, because they are concepts right now, in order to rebuild them so you can see them again. I mean, we are all little universes. We're all little gods. And again, as above, so below. So everything that is happening within each and every one of us is happening on a universe scale. I know that's a bit hard for people to get their head around because they think, well, how am I the center of the universe? Well, of course you are. We all are. That is what consciousness is. You're just split off points of perspective and how we're looking at it. And what we're doing now is my feeling on it is there is a lot of coalescing where people are starting to come to terms with this. And the frequencies that we generate emotionally are the things that are going to start bringing up tones from below us so that people, there's really no easy way to put it, literally start vibrating together, get into a resonance. And as more and more people pick up that resonance frequency, more and more people get pulled up from underneath as well. So again, it's, for me, it's a very difficult concept. Yeah. These are intuitive things that I feel. And again, natural law with regards to dominant frequencies. This is all I'm focused on, and that's real energy. You are a creator God. This is probably the one thing I want to get through to people that is so difficult to get across to people. What you feel, what you think, what you do, what you are matters across the universe, literally. So we got to be careful what we're wishing for. It's like someone that decides one day, well, I think I'm getting a cold. Well, of course you think you're getting a cold. Now you're going to get one. And most of the destruction that we find in our lives, we bring it upon ourselves. We literally create negative and positive energy vortices with those thoughts. It's like people. I'll give you. I think it was in Australia. It might be Australia or Africa, but I'm pretty sure it was Australia. They had something called pointing the bone. It was a curse, and what they would do is if someone like a shaman would point the bone at someone, it was believed that that individual was cursed and would die within, a day or two. And that's all it took. It was that strong. And you see, it's this kind of power that people have over others. And this is where, let's get back to Ratzinger for a minute. This is where the Catholic Church has taken that same voodoo, if you will, and, bring it to the people in a very literal sense. And it's pure mind control. But that control is the energy that we are creating, and they're literally taking over our energy sources. And we're letting them by consent. So we just have to stop agreeing with it. And I'd like Tony to jump in on that.
Yeah.
He is going to be the better one to try to describe what these vortices are.
Tony.
I'll leave it there.
Yeah, Tony. Tony.
Yes, Johnny.
Okay. But here's the deal. I'm confused a little bit here. Okay, I'm gonna be the guy who's a skeptic and who's saying these three guys are nuts. So how can I apply these hidden energies, or how? This is why I asked Kate, is this something you imagine? And Kate said no. This is something that's going on. Okay, but I had a conversation with this gentleman the other day, and he says, this is all an illusion. This is all a dream, and within a dream, you can do whatever you want. Right? So if I train myself to, let's say tonight I'm going to dream that I'm in New York City in the Empire State Building, and I'm having this wonderful dinner there at the restaurant, and I'm having a glass of wine, a $200 bottle of Merlot. If I program myself, I can visually see that, and this will happen. But that's in a dream state. Okay, we could argue that this is also a dream state, but the skeptics would say, well, Johnny, if I take that chair and throw it at your head right now, it's going to hurt you. So he has a point there. So clarify that a little bit more for you, because I'm a little bit confused with that, Tony.
Okay, to clarify that is a long story, but okay, the easiest way I can put it's a bit of a different subject to what we started on, but there's a very good book out there called Biology of Belief. And it's all about a microbiologist that explains about, he goes along to his doctor, he doesn't go along, but somebody goes along to their doctor, for example, and their doctor says, oh, well, sorry, mate, you've got cancer, you've got 6 months, that's the end of it, you better go home and get your affairs in order. And now that guy goes, oh, no, whack, he's just been told, he's been shocked, his world's fell apart, he's like, holy cow, I've just been told, that's it. I've got 6 months. Oh, wow. and it shatters this poor guy's world, right? And he goes home and he says, love, I've just been told, boom, I got, 6 weeks, whatever, and he believes it. He truly believes it. And then what actually happens is this belief structure, this understanding, this cognitive reaction to this information, it changes the way that the cells in the body operate. In other words, that he will manifest that, even if the diagnosis was wrong. This is where the placebo effect kicks in, because even if the diagnosis is wrong, he will actually go home 9 times out of 10 and he will develop fatal cancers, because he's been told, you've got no hope, that's it, game over, you're done, go home, get your affairs in order, simply because he believes it. And the biology of belief, in other words, the belief has manifest that in the biological cell structure, and therefore he's going to believe it. Now another guy goes over, for example, to another doctor, and he actually gets told that he's got cancer, and he goes, you can keep it, mate, I don't believe you for a minute. You know what I'm saying? I'm going for a second opinion. He says, stuff that up your stethoscope, and he walks out of the office, goes down to see somebody else, and I actually know there's somebody who it happened to. And it's not that rare. But the point is, he wouldn't have it, wouldn't accept it. No, not accepting it, goes for a second opinion. No, not having any of it, don't believe you, stuff it, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going for your chemotherapy, not doing your drugs, not doing any of that stuff. I'm not having it. I don't believe you. Okay? And basically walks out the office, he's fine. Everything goes back 6 months later, and this again happened. It was a real life example. And he went back to get a checkup many, many years later, and they said, no, there's nothing up with you. And he was like, well, I knew it all along, In other words, if you believe something's possible, anything's possible, but you've got to believe it in the first place. This is where religion kicks in, and the belief, the belief of this religion stuff, that's where this really hits home. Because if people really and honestly and truly, truly, truly believe this, they're going to be bringing it upon themselves if they only knew what it was in the first place. And that's a whole different issue, because it's not what you think it is. It's what they want you to think it is. Mm-hmm. That's another story.
I mean, I get that, Tony. I mean, and I also get that the law of attraction is very truthful. But when the law of attraction came with The Secret back a few years ago, it was a hit because it was something that, new to a lot of people, and it was very simple to understand, right? You think about something, you feel it, and you act as if it's yours already, and it manifests. But many people did that, and it didn't happen, and it left a lot of people confused. Sold a lot of books and made a lot of money, but you know what I'm saying? I think that there's it might be easy for guys like us that understand this issue, how energy works, and these hidden secrets, right? That we truly understand that things are going to be okay and things are good, And if we dream about, in this illusion that we call life, that anything is possible. And eventually, as the New Agers will call it, the universe will begin to conspire and things begin to manifest, right? But what about you know what I'm saying? I mean, is it too broad?
Well,
Kate?
Johnny, let me jump in for a sec, because you make a very valid point with regards to The Secret. The law of attraction is only one of the 7 cosmic laws. Mm. And I'll tell you why most people fail is because they didn't know how to apply the other 6. Some got lucky, lined up the other 6 by sheer accident or maybe an inner knowing, but they decided to sell only one of the laws in a book. And what you've got there are, you'll have success stories, because every so often one will come along that actually puts all the pieces together. But I'll tell you, just doing what the Secret says will not manifest the way it's claimed, because they're missing out on the other 6, right? And I want to go back to Tony's point very quickly about the biology of belief. And rather than say shaman, I'm going to use the real words, witch doctors. What you're dealing now in today's society is you've still got witch doctors that don't bother with the witch part anymore, and it's that belief structure You go to your doctor because they know best, and quite frankly, they're pill pushers. And I know that my mom's doctor was criminal in that regard, and that ended up in an early demise of my mom. Go figure, Farmageddon, right? That's what they do, and it's that belief structure, and it applies in the medical, it applies in the government, it applies in the legal, it applies in pharmaceuticals, doctors, all of it. It's the religions especially. And what they're doing is they're getting people to look outside of themselves and put that energy. And we're staying with the energy thing here, guys. Take that energy where attention goes, energy flows. So if you have a great faith in a doctor or a politician or a church leader or whatever, you become literally intertwined within their vortices, and you start taking on they're telling you outside of you instead of knowing best for yourself. That which you think and believe, you will achieve. Trouble is, most of the people that are trying to think and believe things are based on someone else's energy or concept of this reality, and that's what's had us under control for so very long. Those are the hidden energies, the real hidden energies that are trapping humanity. And this is what we need to break free of. We need to break free of that worship mentality, worshiping literally a fictitious God. There is a creator of all, yes, absolutely. I'm part of it as is you and everyone else that's listening and watching. Don't negate that, because that is intelligent design. We're part of it. But what they've done is they've taken it and compartmentalized it into one concept or another, where they get you focused on a very, very narrow
aspect
or bandwidth, and it's generating their illusion, and it's reflecting back. What we're seeing around us is that which is getting reflected back. And what you're seeing with the Pope stepping down today is that paradigm's starting to crumble. Humpty is not having a good day. He's on his way to the ground, and all the king's horses and all the king's men they're unemployed. There's no way that puppy's going back together. But it is really the biology of belief, because that which you take upon yourself, whether it's something you've decided with full will, or if you've given that will away to someone else to let them decide you're going to die, they point the bone at you or tell you have cancer. Same friggin' doctor, just one decided to drop the witch off the front. And if you choose to believe that, then you have become embroiled in that energy. You've granted it power, because a concept or a postulate, truth, when you claim one, is one thing. It is only powerful when there's an agreement. It has to be an agreed upon. And that's what this whole paradigm is about. It's about duping people into agreeing with things that are not necessarily, or quite frankly, are not even close to being true. And we've been buying it for so long. It's time to take our energy back, start to understand that we have a great responsibility as individual creators, and stop generating power for their vortices and start taking it back, where we become our own internal tornado.
Yes, I get that, Kate, 100%. Bruce Lipton, which is, well, I have Tony on now. Okay, Tony. Bruce Lipton is the one that talks about the biology of change, but he also says that all of the things that have happened to you in your life, right, since you were in the womb, has become, this information or energy has become stored in your subconscious mind, which now is your perspective, your perception, which is your perception. So now you see the world the way you are, not the way it is, right? But in order to change that, you have to go into the subconscious mind to rewrite that software. So in other words, you have to introduce a new belief system, right? But you can't just say, listen, you got to believe, and this is the way it is, and things are done that way. Because consciously, remember, our mind has 3 levels, right? Maybe more, but from what we know, conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. So the information that we act upon right now is based on the information that's in our subconscious mind, that makes our body move, that makes us remember things and act upon things, right? The conscious mind is very limited now. It's very limited, and the conscious mind wants to be happy. I mean, we take anyone out on the street and ask them, hey, do you deserve to be happy? You know, out of 100 people, they're going to say, yes, I do deserve to be happy. But why aren't you happy then? Because subconsciously, there's another information. And in that information, it probably says, well, most likely it will say, no, I don't deserve to be happy. Therefore, I cannot be happy. So you see what I'm saying? So isn't it just too easy to say, well, guys, just, believe that you are a good person, or believe that, you're a god, or believe that you have $1 million. You understand what I'm saying, Tony?
I understand what you're saying, but this is part of the trickery as well, because what's actually happened is we've been hijacked by them using the subliminal parts of our mind. There's lots of different topics you touched on, from cellular memory to the different parts of the brain that stores different parts of memory, and lots of different systems. I mean, we've been tricked into. They've been speaking directly. An example is subliminals, okay? When you're watching TV, you are absorbing through your eyes, right? Subliminal messages, colors are subliminals, symbols are subliminals, flashes are frequencies that are subliminals. There's messages like hidden symbols that you don't see with your conscious brain, in other words, your conscious mind, that your subconscious mind sees and you don't pick up on, but your subconscious mind picks up on it and identifies with it without you being aware of it. So they've been using subliminals and these things to appeal to the subconsciousness of ourselves in order to trick us into going left or to go right, depending on what they want at the time. All the products that they're selling on TV is subliminal backed, even though it's illegal, but they're doing it anyway. The point is they're steering everybody through to the direction that they want them to be, or the direction they want them to go, whether it's selling you products, selling you something like a religion. Oh, you need medical insurance just in case anything kicks off. Again, all of these are cons. It comes back to the same old con. You need a license to lie to your senses, to believe that you need a license to take a vehicle. God gave you gave you every permission in the world from go to that end of the field to that end of the field. Who says you can't? Oh, I need a license. License? It's blooming obvious. But again, different forms of cellular memory as well. I mean, when you were talking about the memories getting embedded in your cellular structure, that's true. I mean, I've treated women. One particular woman had basically multiple sclerosis, and her head was stuck over like this, and she couldn't. All the cellular memory was built up in the back of her neck and in her neck herself, and her neck was twisted over, and she'd been like this for 20 years. And we started treating the sides of her neck and the shoulders with energy medicine, which actually changes the memory structure within the cells. If you look at Professor Yakamoto, I think it was, of Japan, and how that water holds memory. Again, this is all on the same thing. It's energetics, it's energy medicine, it's memory, it's information. It's all one and the same thing. If I shine a laser beam, you go, ow, because you've just got the information coming straight at you at high definition. The same thing, if I slap you in the face, your nerves have just sent a signal to your brain going, ow, and backing off. Again, it's all information, it's all exchange, and it's all, and that can be stored in cellular memory, it can be stored in mental memory, it can be stored in all sorts of different systems. But there's all these different aspects to what you were just saying, so I'm not sure which particular one or how you want me to ideally answer the question, because there's so many.
Yeah, I think okay, the simplest question that I could ask you is it that easy for us to say, listen, just believe in this and things will be that which you believe? Is it that easy? I guess that's the easiest way I can put it, Tony.
Well, that's the principle, but it's not the delivery systems. Do you see what I'm saying? That's the end goal. Just believe in what I want you to believe in. All right, don't look over there, don't look over there, don't look up, don't look down, don't look anywhere. Just believe what I want you to believe. And that's where all of us, you know, all of our memories, all of our constructs, all of our laws, all of our tuition, all of everything we've been taught points to the same thing. You do as you are told to do and nothing else. Don't think about that. Don't think about this. Don't go there. Don't do that. Do exactly as we tell you to do. And these are all training means to train our minds to be constrictive into the smallest of our own abilities. Whereas our real abilities are not constricted at all. They're limitless. There is not a box. There is no box. And this is why Kate's show is outside the box. It's because get rid of the box. You can do whatever you want to do, but there's consequences and good things and bad things. You know, you shouldn't do the bad things because it's not good. It's not good for your karma above else, especially other people if you're doing nasty things to people. But again, we're going straight back to common sense.
Right.
I don't know if that helps you at all.
Yeah. Kate, I want to hear what you have to say about this, Kate. Kate?
Oh, I thought Tony did a pretty good job covering it.
Okay. So let me ask you this then. All right.
Okay, just go ahead.
Is information the same thing as energy? Number one.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're dealing with thought, you're dealing with the creation of energy. This is what people need to get. They're gods and goddesses in one, right? That what you think about, literally in thought, manifests. And this is why it's been so critical for the very few to harness as many of the consciousness as they can to manifest what they want as their reality. And what you were saying to Tony about this, is it as easy as that? Well, of course it is. But there's still a lot more to it than that, because the minute people decide that they want to manifest something, they automatically, based on our conditioning, go into a condition of doubt, which create, destroy. It's instantaneous. Now, if people get into the habit of trying to harness that energy via meditation, where they get truly within themselves and shut the thoughts down and just let the creative higher self take over, that's when you're starting to get back into the real power. Again, we've come a long way. I will say that. We actually awoke, which is like bonus, but we still got a ways to go. I mean, you can't, after a couple of thousand years, after the destruction of these mystery schools, where so few have been kept intact with the information, and of course, the Vatican and Venice and the different museums around the world hoarding all this information, old books. I mean, I can only imagine what's in the vault at the Vatican and what was taken from the libraries at Alexandria. I mean, you're dealing with some very powerful knowledge. Obviously, they were able to take over a planet. What we're dealing with here are a handful of individuals that were entrusted with this information, speaking of karma, and got corrupted by it, where they got entranced by their own enchantments. And here we are running a cycle that is actually interfering with creation. You see, because what the schools teach is opposite to the energy of creation. What they teach is that in order to have something must get destroyed. And that's not how creation works. Creation is infinite. Space, as we create it, is infinite. As quickly as I tell you to visualize a box, I will tell you to visualize the space in which to put it. But lo and behold, you already have. So that's where you got to get to in terms of trying to manifest. I mean, there are some people out there that have got incredible abilities that show them, and they even put some of this stuff on mainstream. They call it magic and whatever. But to me, magic is only having a higher knowledge. That's where the true magic is, and that's what they've done to us, is they've destroyed our magic by eliminating our ability to have knowledge first, and then, of course, with knowledge and experience, turning that, creating into wisdom. And that's where the biggest problem lies. I go back to the secret again as that simple example of, we'll just give masses one piece of the 7-piece puzzle and see if, a few of them figure it out. And because a few of them do, you have others that have, lo and behold, there's the doubt because they failed. You see, when you create a society, especially the school system, where you've got a check mark or an X, what you're doing there is you're instilling failure. I mean, really, just because somebody has an idea of what an answer is based on a book that was written by someone else based in another time, if it even happened at all, and then they condemn you for being wrong if you don't remember it. You know, that's basic schooling. But I just wanted to get on some of those points that Tony was talking about, and these energy fields. We are absolute energy. That's what you are. Everything. Your DNA is the mathematical construct of you in that design. I forget. I forget who I was talking to today about that. We were talking about uh, how the system can attack the dead and eat the dead because they've created all these dead fictions. But you can't eat the living. That's in the actual good book. You cannot eat the living. And I want to go back to your Good Friday point. The reason why the church made, Fish Friday was because they were trying to wean their, people off of cannibalism, eating slaves, which is better known as long pork. Now, think mad cow disease, and you wonder why these creatures are so aberrated. Because what's happened, they've kept these bloodlines tight within their own families, and this ingesting of human flesh, literally, has intermingled with their own DNA. And it's energy. It is absolute energy. Look what happens when they started feeding cow parts to cows in the feed. The cows went nuts. And what we're dealing with here is a human form of that. And yeah, I mean, you take one look at Ratzinger, and I don't see a loving soul there. I see a schizoid psychopath that's ready to, push a button to destroy humanity any second. So I'm kind of glad to see him stepping down.
Yeah, I asked you that, Kate, is the information the same as energy? Because I think there's other factors that we're overlooking. For example, and I see this daily, in with friends who practice different kinds of therapies. And here comes a child, okay, who's I wouldn't say a child, but a young girl who's 22 years old. She's pregnant. The husband doesn't want nothing to do with her, okay, and obviously her baby is going to suffer. Is suffering or receiving that information that is not wanted. Obviously, right? Because the father doesn't want it, want the baby. So that child is going to be born with that information. So the mother, at the same time, she has also that guilt conscious or that information that says, I'm going to bring up a child now without a father. Now, if we backtrack a little bit and we look at the history of the family, I'll guarantee you that somewhere down that line, or if not the father, the mother, that same information, that same story has repeated itself. You see? So if you don't deal with that information, then how can we consciously just simply say, well, let's just do this, or apply the law of attraction, or think, this is just the way it is and this is how we manifest it. We can't do that, Kate. You know what I'm saying? So this is why I was arguing. How is it that simple, Kate?
Well, again, here you're trying to solve a problem with a broken calculator, and that's effectively it. Because what you're dealing with this 22-year-old and a baby, let's say she's having a baby on the way, and the father ditches. That is a product of the system and how the system has divided and conquered us. That is how we've got to a point where there was a time that would never happen. It would never be allowed to happen. So what we're dealing with here is the moral decay of society based on this external illusion that was created around us. That's why you have a very physical-driven world, where spirituality finally awoke in so many of us to say enough of this crap. And, this is where you move from meat stick to mentor. This is where you leave that physical drama game, and that's really all it is. And you take the responsibility upon self. yes, that energy is there, and as far as I'm not going to speak for the child, but yeah, there's definitely a negative energy in that unwanted aspect. But at the same time, that's not to say it can't be healed, and with the right kind of nurturing. So I don't like to really dwell on the negative parts there, but I will point out the causes, and the root cause of everything is you. And until you can look in your mirror and stand up and start taking responsibility for yourself, this is me and everyone, then don't expect anything to change. Doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result, is insanity. And that's exactly what we're dealing with in this system. Got grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. They're all teaching the same thing, and every year it's getting dumbed down even more. Where people are not even given the opportunity to learn truth in terms of history. They're given just enough information to make them feel intelligent, to give them some sense of self-worth, but they're also made dumb enough by design. Now, I'm not blaming people for this. I mean, this is what we came into. This is a collective responsibility, and we all have to change it. It's changing that energy and changing that decision to not allow that to happen anymore. And that's all we've done, Johnny and Tony, myself, Santo, and so many others. We've said enough. We've had enough, and it's time to wake people up. So again, I don't want to really focus on a negative energy that might surround a family unit like that, because that family unit, based on society today and the moral and depravity and the cognitive dissonance that is ingrained so deep in the churches, in the schools, in the governments, and in all of the system, I'm amazed that any of us woke up at all.
Yes. Okay, Tony, we have a few more minutes. I can't believe already an hour and 10 minutes have gone by. Tony, let's get your thoughts on this. We have a couple of minutes. Again, I think Kate hit the nail right on the head when she said that you have to be responsible. You are the problem. In other words, yes, that's I think the correct answer. We tend to blame everything around us. We tend to blame everyone, but we never look in the mirror and say, you know what? I need to change my life. I need to do things differently. I need to reinvent myself, to become a different person. Okay, so let's get your thoughts in, and we have a couple of minutes, Tony.
Well, here we go. This is going to be a bit of a blow to a lot of people, but if we've got a situation, for example, where we got wars all over the planet, okay, and we're going, our government, they've now gone into Iraq, they've now gone into Iran, Afghanistan, all this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter where it is. The fact of the matter is, you're standing up and you're complaining about, the governments have gone into here and they lied to us on these mass weapons of destruction, these biological what's-its, and basically everybody's gone along with the lie, and they've all acquiesced to allowing that to happen in their name. And this is the bit that's hard to swallow, because the reality is, if you had refused to go along with it in the first place, and if you had said, no, you're not taking us into war, in the same way that Iceland said, no, you're not going to screw us over with the bankers and expect us to pick up the bill. We're not putting up with it anymore. Do we look like we've got twit written across our head and said, basically, we're not having it? And that's the point. But that's not happening, because everybody's fallen asleep and they're all acquiescing, oh, yeah, whatever. Everybody's paying the taxes, which are buying the bombs, the bullets, and paying for the tanks and the troop movements, the aircraft carriers, the fighter planes at £3 trillion a bloody each, all of which are outdated and outused, just complete falsification. It's globalization. All of the countries are working together to fool every single country's people in order to keep propping up a system that's completely and utterly defunct, outdated, and immoral, and so rotten in every different way, shape or form. But they're doing it because, oh, we've got to pay the taxes, we've got to pay the mortgage, we've got to pay for this, we've got to keep supporting it, we've got to, and then they're pointing the finger and blaming them at the same time. It's your fault. You led us to war. You took us into this thing. You said he was doing this and that was going on, all this rubbish. Well, sorry, you fell for it. And that's the problem. Until we can't change anything out there, until you accept the responsibility, you paid the tax, you went along with it, you acquiesced, you voted thinking it was going to do anything different by voting him in the first place. And then you turn around and go, oh, well, it wasn't me, it was him. No, it was you. You voted him in, you put up with it, you're as much to blame as he is. And I'm sorry, that's the way it is. I mean, it's not nice and it's not clever, but there you are. What can I say? Do you want me to lie? Because you tell me if I'm lying. You can look yourself in the mirror and you ask, is he lying?
It's like that old that rap, Shaggy. I think it's that rap. It goes, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It's not me. It's never me. Anyway, Tony, thank you very much. Let's for being with us here in the Truth Hour. Thank you. I'll see you next Monday. Let's just get last words in by Kate. Kate, thank you, Tony.
Hey, how's it going? Oh, very well said, Tony. I absolutely 100% agree. You voted for the guy or the girl that's pissing you off. It's your fault. You pay the taxes. Well, it's your fault. You're financing the machine. You deal with the banks. It's your fault. You want to say that you have a name to a cop. That's your fault. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Very, very, very important truth there, if you can see it. That's the bottom line. And Johnny and Tony, thank you again so much. It's always a treat to come on with you guys, always.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Tony, for being here with us. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us. Once again, thank you for being and sharing this hour with us. Well, a little bit more than an hour, almost an hour, 15 minutes. Don't forget to visit our website, www.qltelevision.com. Hopefully within the next 2 days, we're going to have a new website promoting Santos Bonacci's film. It's going to be all done in English, so there won't be any confusion as to some folks not understanding what's on the page in Spanish and all that situation that we have. So I think if not tomorrow, by Wednesday, we will have a new site so you guys can go directly and help us in this new venture that we're doing with Santos Bonacci. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow for another edition of The Truth Hour. Ciao.